Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I want to share a story. Well, it's a deal deep delve, but I want to share a story that's going to dispel some myths. I hear from so many people that in our current market, you can't find properties without going hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking. And we're actually going to dispel a myth about lending. So what I have is my two friends, Kevin and Britt. They're going to come in and share a deal that they just closed on. Kevin and Britt, can you tell me a little bit about your investing portfolio, the size of it, and what got you interested in real estate?
Yes, so we're pretty green over here. I'm not going to lie to you. This was our first property that we had bought. And really where it all started on my end was I'm a sales professional and so is my fiance. Back in 2018, I read the cliche book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I just had that aha moment where I ran into my roommate's room and said, again, another W-2 corporate guy. And I said, hey, man, we're doing this all wrong. There's an easier way to go about this. And you fast forward a little bit of time. And I knew that, hey, it was really important to get just really assets that'll generate revenue for you. But I didn't know really where to start. And it was 2020 during COVID when I had gotten laid off from my job. And my roommate at that time had decided to go into real estate investing. And I said, where do I start? Hey, how do I even get started in something like this? I just was thinking the same way really everybody else thinks, where it seems like too good to be true. You need all this money. I don't want to fix toilets for a living. Just you could keep on, the list goes on and on and on. And he pointed me towards the BiggerPockets guys. And one of the first episodes I listened to was one where you were on. It was called The Lazy Person's Guide to Financial Freedom. And for us, I mean, that portfolio right now, one multifamily unit, but I would say that the way that you laid out the groundwork to really finding a property that, hey, some people got to live somewhere and so do you. Is there a way that you can have someone help you with that mortgage? I don't want to fix toilets. Okay. Is there a way where you find a property that is rent ready, where you don't have to do a ton of the renovations? You don't have to do a ton of the rehab. You can reap the reward of owning a property, having someone pay down your mortgage while you're building equity in the process. And honestly, Dion, it was just the simplification of the steps that you laid out that made me run inside and tell Britt, hey, I got a crazy idea.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that when we were listening to your podcast was like, you have to live somewhere. And in the city, we know we don't want to leave. We like being, where all the action is. And we were going to look at a condo that was going to be, anywhere between $480 to $550. And Kevin's like, well, if we spend $300,000 more and we make money off the tenants in it, why would we not do it? And I looked at him, I was like, yeah, you're kind of crazy, but also right.
And I kept going back to Britt based on your advice too. Although we didn't do a 3.5% FHA, I had told her, had said, hey, look, if we want $1 million house, all we need is 35 grand. And it was just that aha where it was like, and everybody gets tripped up on, I need all this money. I need to have a fortune to get started in something like this. And it was just, again, I just can't get back to how simple you made it.
What I really like is, first off, thank you. The goal for getting on BiggerPockets and the reason I make YouTube videos at all is so that the new investor finds out this is not complicated. It's not easy, but it's not complicated. I also really like that you pointed out your friend got into real estate. So you thought, well, how do I even educate myself? And you look at BiggerPockets because you nailed it. We think of all of the reasons why we can't. And on BiggerPockets, they say this often. If you really want something, you'll find a way. And if you don't want something, you find the excuse. So you started listing off all the excuses it could be. And then you educated yourself and you said, well, here's the way. So you really want this. So let's get into the deal deep delve. What type of property is this?
So this is a duplex, 2 beds, 2 baths.
So it's a multi-family.
No, I'm sorry, 2 beds, 2 baths per floor.
Per floor. So small multifamily duplex.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a minute ago you were a little bit hesitant to call it a portfolio, and having one rental puts you ahead of 98% of the people out there. Even 90% of real estate agents never own one rental property. So it's a portfolio. I think we have a portfolio before we buy the rental property because it took saving the down payment, closing costs, immediate repairs. That was your portfolio until you closed. So now you have a duplex. How did you find this property?
Yeah, so we found it through our agent. He was a Compass agent, and actually the sellers of the house, their agent was a Compass. So it was like a private listing at first. We were actually in Mexico, and I'm like, you get the notifications. I was excited to get in buying a house, and it just met every check the box that we wanted. And I was like, Kevin, we contact our agent, like set something up immediately so we can go see this. Even though it was a closed listing, there was still 15 people viewing it within the first 10, 15 minutes. So there still was competition. It just wasn't open to every real estate company within the Chicago market. But Compass is a big network around here as well.
It's an interesting point, though, she brings up, because we go to this open house when we had texted him about it, and his response was, hey, agent said that they're not doing any showings. They're going to do an open house. And so everybody knows the rumors about the market right now. And, you go to these showings and there's 20 people there, and in your head, you just automatically assume, hey, we're going to bid like crazy for this thing.
Yep.
So many people say, I heard of one deal, and then they think that's how the whole market works. So this was not technically off market, but it wasn't fully listed on the MLS. So because of your network, because you talked to an agent and they knew what you were looking for, you got a lead on this property.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What was going to be the asking price on the property?
Yeah, so the asking price that they listed at was $859, just based on like what our agent had told us, and pulled comps in the area. He was like, let's go, like 2.5% lower. So we started at $840 with an escalation clause, so increasing to 10. So we would automatically outbid anyone else. But obviously, you can't just outbid this drastic number that you're not approved for. So our max price was $875, and I was fully prepared to pay $875 for this house. Like fully prepared. That's
the point with an escalation clause. You say what your limit is, but you don't have to start there. Can you explain, in case somebody hasn't heard, what an escalation clause is? How does that work?
Yeah. So if this house was listed at $859, our specific case, for example, we went there at $840 and we said we would go up in. So basically anybody, if someone would have came in at $845, we would automatically outbid them by $2,000 up to our max price of the $875.
I like the escalation clause. The resistance I usually run into is somebody says an unethical seller could just say, well, we got $870, so your $875 is what we'll take. The listing agent has to show you the offer that you're going above.
Yeah.
So it would take a couple of unethical people working together to trick you into that. So I've made escalation clauses on most of mine. The other thing that I really like is you were in Mexico, you were traveling. All of my deals, either I was traveling, I was in Thailand for one, or my agent was on his honeymoon. So one of us was traveling during all of our deals. You can still be looking, you can still be writing offers. Most of this is done through email until you actually go to look at the property. How did you fund this deal?
We wound up doing a 5% conventional loan through a credit union that I'd already had a partnership with.
Yeah.
Just for a car loan. So really no real estate history there. And I know that can be a little bit challenging, right? Like you always think you're going to have to go 15, 20, but we ended up finding the 5% conventional.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is like becoming a member of a couple small credit unions. That way you gain a relationship with them. They see like Kevin's car payments on there. They know you pay on time, and they call it a jumbo loan. And I mean, they advertise it as low as like 3% that you can put down. So when people say, oh no, you can't do that, you're not looking hard enough.
This is my favorite part of this because that's the myth I want to dispel. I purchased my first owner-occupied house hack duplex with a 5% down conventional in the dinosaur days, 7, 8 or so years ago. And everyone says, must be nice, you can't do that anymore. And here we are today, currently, you guys did that. I'm glad you guys came on here to share this with people, that if you look in the right way and build the right relationships, it's still possible to do 5% down conventional. The really good thing with this, with an FHA loan, you have mortgage insurance for the length of the loan. It never goes away. You either have to refinance or pay off the property or sell for that to go away. With a conventional loan, if you put down 20% or less than 20%, you get mortgage insurance. Once you gain equity up to 22%, your mortgage insurance will drop away automatically without you guys having to refinance. So that's a really good benefit with conventional. The other thing that's really good with conventional is you can only have one FHA at a time. So had you used FHA and you want to repeat the house hack in a year, you would need to refinance out. Hopefully you have enough equity to, and do it again. Whereas you have a conventional, you can have 10 of those in each of your names. So it's a little easier for you to rinse and repeat this having a conventional on your first loan. So congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you.
You find the property, you get your offer accepted using an escalation clause, use a 5% down conventional loan, which of course we can't do anymore. And tell me how that purchase went. What was the timeline like to closing?
Let's call it January 15th for the ease of the conversation. We had put the offer in that day. They had came back asking for a little bit more, wanted a little bit more money down because we ended up doing Earnest Money. So 18,000 of it was earnest. They had a bad buying experience before from somebody who I guess wasn't really that serious of a buyer. So we ended up putting another $7,000 into it, settled at $850, so $25,000 earnest. Then once that had happened, we got the ball rolling with the lender, getting all the documentation in. Close date was set for March 8th. And then in that process, we just knocked out, the inspection happened within, a week and a half, I want to say.
No, like literally 3 days after.
Yeah.
Like it was so fast. Our realtor was like, just let's get the ball rolling, get it closed.
It was funny because he had said, stay on top of the lender, stay on top of the lender. And we're like, hey, we're on top of them. Don't worry. Everything seems good to go. And everything was super smooth. Closing pushed back one day purely because they just were waiting on the final appraisal report. But month and a half probably all in.
I love that you increased the earnest money. That's something that I've done too, where you want to get the seller's attention. So higher earnest. To a lot of investors, we know the earnest money is just a promise to buy unless it doesn't appraise, unless during the inspection period, I decide I don't want it. Then I walk away and I get my money back. But some sellers see that earnest money as theirs if you just walk away. So increasing that from 18 to 25 to help seal the deal is a brilliant tactic because that money was safe. You had your inspection period, you had an appraisal clause. It really wasn't at risk. So putting more money into that had no real impact on you guys, as long as you had the money to put into the earnest money.
Yeah.
We had a good agent too. So he was very thorough, and a lot of that was his helping and spearheading. And so
he just thought, to make it more competitive, just because they kind of had been screwed over before, let's put more money on the table, and caught their attention. And they're like, okay, we accept.
Yeah. Sounds like you guys have an agent who knows what he's doing. What are the long-term goals with this property?
So right now we're moving in there mid-May, just due to how some of the leasing worked out. So we're going to live in that first unit, keep the second one rented out. There's 2 tenants in there right now. And really we're going to rinse, wash, repeat. The way I look at this is, we were able to use leverage to get into a very nice property with 5% down. And it's something that you alluded to earlier. You can just keep rinse, wash, and repeating the process. So for us, especially like I'd mentioned, coming from that corporate world, still there, but knowing that stability is not really a word that exists anymore, to where this is something that we know that we could lean back on, and we've been through that process. So we want to continue to do this and grow the portfolio, house hacking in the 2 to 4 unit realm, and I'm also, again, big BiggerPockets fan. Have kind of flirted around with the idea of potentially consolidating in the future, maybe looking to go towards a commercial property. But again, that's just me in my head scaling.
Well, it's literally taking from the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. He talks about the monopoly method of going 3 greenhouses, sell them all, get 1 red hotel, 3 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. So you can scale up. It's a method that works for a lot of people.
And I think too, just like on some of those like podcasts, they always say, stick with one thing and find one thing you're good at. And I think that's like one of the most important things, instead of you can go and like do the single family home or the multi, but it's just, if you know what works, it works. And the better you get it, the more you become, strong at your skills. So why kind of curve away from that? And you always need somewhere to live. So
ideally would really love to, been really interested in the BRRRR method and potentially looking at ways to raise money and just really find those risk averse friends that we potentially have where they could get some return and we could get into some of these deals without using our own money, which would be fantastic. But she hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think it's just, we really found a niche with multifamily and just really want to get good at that to where the deal analysis easy. We know what we're looking for. We know what works. And just, again, just continuing to build that system and process.
Well, I think you're doing it in the right order. And I always like the phrase, if you chase 5 rabbits, you starve. So pick your rabbit, chase that rabbit, get really good at it. Methods like the BRRRR method or investing in larger commercial things, if you do those later, once you've built cash flowing assets that supply the cash flow so that you can handle mistakes that you can make, a lot of new investors say, I want to get started in investing, so I want to start with the BRRRR method because I can recycle my capital. But there's so many mistakes a new investor can make. What if your after repair value is off? What if your use of hard money timing is off because we don't know how long a rehab takes? We don't know how supply chain issues are delaying windows from that used to take 20 days to get, or taking upwards of 90 days now to get your windows. Small things like that, that once you have some cash flowing rentals, that cash flow can support the mistakes of hard money going from 8% to 20% because you've gone over time. The cost of a rehab, all of those things that you'll learn having a couple of rentals that are a lot easier to do later, instead of, like I see a lot of people saying, I want to start with the BRRRR. Because if you mess up then, you lose a couple months. If you mess up in the beginning, you may never recover. Can you tell me what are your monthly expenses? What's the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance for this property?
I don't have like exact breakdown, but everything with like the interest, property taxes, the mortgage, it's $4,893 a month.
Okay. And what are the current rents before you move in?
So the current rents, the top unit for multifamily is $3,100, and then the bottom unit is $2,500.
So it's already cash flow positive. You're going to house hack it. I'm just estimating, but in the next year, rents are probably going to go up. They're going up everywhere right now. I wouldn't buy a property that was negative cash flow, hoping that the rents go up, but you're buying one that was cash flow positive. In a year, when you rinse and repeat and get into the next one, this will be a cash flow positive rental on your first deal.
Yep.
That is exactly how we're supposed to do this.
Glad you steered me right.
Well, I'm super glad you found the content, and it's the reason why I make the videos. Is this doesn't have to be complicated, and you don't have to pay $20,000 to take some course. You can actually watch and maybe an hour or 2 hours of content every week to educate yourself to get this done. And this is your first one. And it's not get rich quick. It's get wealthy for sure. So if you do this again every couple of years, in 10 years, you guys are half my age, you'll get the whole second half of your life or longer where you never have to work again.
Yeah.
You can if you choose to, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
What do you think you learned that would help a newer investor the most in the middle of this transaction?
I would say a lot of it is just be super certain that you understand the lending structures when you do that pre-approval. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, you really don't know what you don't know. And it's going to help you and your agent be a lot more competitive in the process. And everything that is going to potentially tie you up from our experience would have been on the lending side. So I would just say be super diligent in that process and ask a lot of good questions and make sure you know exactly what stipulations are there.
But even with that, like some of the brokers, they couldn't, that we were working with in the beginning, couldn't do the financing side. Actually, one of the guys, he said, what you guys are doing is very popular and we're trying to work on programs to get this done. And he emailed us like 2 weeks after we already decided to go with the credit union. Hey, I'm going to have the program you guys are looking for in a month. So yes, we didn't use him this time, but it's nice to have that option, the next time when we do this. So I think that's another big thing, is just have a lot of relationships, not only with brokers that but just small credit unions. Because it changes, they might have the lending program now, but months down the road it goes away. It just kind of depends on all the funding from different sides.
I totally agree with that. What a lender says this week can be totally different than what they say next week. So checking with lenders, keeping those relationships going. Some people are probably going to have some questions. They want to reach out and ask you how this went. If they want to do that, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so probably the most accessible by Instagram. And it's going to be K Simonson, SIMONSON 92. My email is ksimonson92@gmail.com. I keep everything pretty consistent. So those are probably the two best ways.
Yeah, I would either say my Instagram, it's Britt, BRITTTT _ Elise, ELISE, or via email, and it's Brittany and BRITTNEY, Elise, ELISE, Patterson, PATTERSON @gmail.com. I know it's a long one. They were all taken.
That is probably the easiest way to get a hold of you guys. And someday I'm going to be more active on Instagram.
But not today.
So I want to say thanks to both of you, because this does show people that even in a hot market, it is possible to find deals that make sense. It's still possible to get the right lending, and you just have to do the work every day. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Cool.
We can do that. Man, it was so nice getting to talk to you.
Yeah, so thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
No, I'm glad you guys took the time. It sounds like you are still learning, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So am I. Like, I still watch YouTube. I still take in videos. I'm still on doing the podcast stuff. It's fun. It's totally worth it. The hardest part is where you're at right now. Those first 5 years,
Yeah.
you don't know the income snowball is a thing yet. Like you're still working for your money. But when you have 2 or 3 of these, and all of a sudden one day you go out and you look at your account and you see your paycheck, but there's more money in there that was not from your paycheck.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So,
Even just now, because it's, we're getting rent money and we're still at our jobs, and our mortgage isn't even due till May 1st. And it's just like, oh, $5,100, here you go. And it's just like doing, yeah, we've taken a couple emails from the tenants, but nothing major. And people are like, oh, I don't want to manage it. I don't want all this. I'm like, we've maybe spent 2 hours this month doing it.
And see, the thing that's crazy is like, we've got these friends out here and they're the naysayers, right? Like, I mean it in the best of ways, but we went to dinner with them because they took us out to celebrate. Like, you guys are homeowners. And the real kicker was they're like, and I loved your, so it was all about, to me, the savings rate. And I'm like, hey, like, we took our rent from $2,500 and now it's $1,000 cheaper. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, there it is. I knew you would have to hear something, but when they see that you bought a bigger home and you're paying less, they're like, got it. Okay, that makes sense. And so that was it. It was just, you people thought we were crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for a year, people are like, you guys are doing what? Say what? Like, I mean, everyone thought we were like nuts. Like, but now they're like, oh, they're like, it like just clicked on. I'm like, oh, wait, they're paying that and you're only paying like this for all of that. And I'm like, yeah, when we go to, in 30 years when that thing's paid off, it's going to be worth way more than.
Do you remember the lawyer at closing? Our attorney was like, holy shit, the people upstairs pay $230 your mortgage. And I was like, yeah.
And the thing to throw back is, in a year when we do this again, we rent out both units. The tenants are going to pay down this mortgage. We're never going to pay a penny on this, and it's going to be paid down every month. That's the thing that's mind blowing, because once you start repeating it, you're going to move into another house hack, hopefully, another duplex or triplex or fourplex, whatever the next one is, or a house with an ADU. So you can have 2 houses, not even touching if you want to. It works the same way like a duplex. But you then get to rent out where you moved from. So it just starts to snowball.
That's awesome, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for all you do.
This is a lot more fun than work calls.
It is, yeah.
Kevin was like,
I'm actually at work right now. This is like a whiteboard back here at work.
I told her, I was like, oh, it's weird, a video call that I'm looking forward to.
And then I'm going to edit this out and look at my questions really quick. Something I haven't shared in too many videos. I talked about it in one live stream. I had a head trauma in Desert Storm, so I literally have like my mind blanks out. That's why I don't like to do lives. That's why I like to do videos. I've been so lucky so far on the live streams. Chat, and when I'm like, oh, I'm doing a live stream. I should read it. So, how did the purchase go? Okay, so the next question.